Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to all of you out there in virtual land. My name is Joe Maestas. I represent District 3 on the Public Regulation Commission, which is essentially north central New Mexico, from the Colorado state line all the way down to Rio Rancho and even western parts of the city of Albuquerque. And I also bring greetings from my colleagues on the commission and on behalf of the entire agency. And I want to personally welcome you to our new office location. It's at 142 West Palace Avenue. It's in downtown Santa Fe. We finally have a home. As you know, we've been without a home for a little over a year. My district includes at least 10 pueblos and tribes. And so I've really enjoyed talking to many of you before the conference. And I want to just, welcome you to contact me if you have any issues. We're doing a lot of other things besides community solar. We're working hard on expanding broadband throughout the state. As you know, during the pandemic, it was very difficult for many of us to get a signal at all, if not maybe a weak signal if we did have access to broadband. And so, we manage the Universal Service Fund, and that includes a broadband fund. It's generally between 13 and $15 million. And so we're going to be approving some applications here in the next couple of weeks. And I guarantee you, most of those applications are in tribal and Indian country. And so, and we're asking the legislature to appropriate or raise the cap on the state Universal Service Fund for another 10 million. And all of that would go into the broadband fund, because right now we have $13 to $15 million in applications. In budget, and about 47 million in broadband applications. So that gives you an idea of what the demand is out there. And I also want to, before I start my presentation too, any resident on a tribe or reservation does not have to pay gross receipts taxes on their utility bills. And I know some of you Pueblo governors are very proactive in informing, your people, but please, we have a one-page tax exemption form, and your tribal members have to do is send that in to the utility company, and they'll be exempt from all taxes. So I just wanted to, because we get some complaints about tribal members that they're still being charged for gross receipts taxes. So let's just go in. I've got 10 whole minutes here. How do I go back? Okay, let me just clarify the role. I think it's already been mentioned. What is the role of the Public Regulation Commission? We're going to administer and enforce the Community Solar Act, and this includes establishing regulations for subscriber organizations and establish standards for consumer protection. We're also going to develop rules to establish the community solar program, and I'm going to give you an update on just exactly where we are in that rulemaking. And Senate Bill 84 also authorizes the PRC to assess fees. And so right now we're in the process of developing a cost allocation study that's going to go into establishing this fee structure. So that is still under development. But, Senator Stefanik, I must say, I've known a lot of legislators in my day, but I've never witnessed anyone that has such a command of this subject matter. And we should be very fortunate to have her, at the helm leading this effort. And so thank you, Senator, for your service. We had her participate and kick off our first workshop in this pre-rulemaking process. And I was just in awe. I was taking notes. So thank you, Senator. But I want to call out the senator because there's other statutes like transportation electrification that simply just call for considering low to moderate income populations. And we know that our state has an extensive population that falls in that category. But community solar, I think, has one of the most proactive social justice components in that it requires a 30% set aside for low to moderate income populations on a per project basis. To me, based on where I sit in the cheap seats, that is incredible because we always talk about who's going to get left behind in this transition to clean energy. And so community solar is really stepping up on behalf of those populations. And so I'm really proud to be a part of this rulemaking process. So how does this act apply, to pueblos? And I think I'd like to go back kind of in time and just discuss a few milestones. Back on April 5th, the legislature finally passed the Community Solar Act, and after many, many iterations and workshops. So we're faced with a statutory mandate to develop the final rule by April 1st of 2022. And we at the PRC, we have a backlog of rulemakings, transportation electrification, rate decoupling. So we got going immediately. We've had a number of workshops. And again, this is all pre-rulemaking. And it's really meant to provide a more informal environment to gather feedback from all stakeholders to make sure that we have a good first initial draft rule. And so we've had 2 workshops, and we have the 3rd workshop scheduled for October 19th. And we're going to be inviting all the stakeholders. One of the primary subjects that we're going to cover is we hired a national consultant in Stratagen, and they'll be finalizing a report that documents all the proceedings of the pre-rulemaking process. That's going to include the 3 workshops and the convening of several work groups. So we hope to see a lot of you there on October 19th. It's going to start at 10 a.m. So which are the applicable provisions of the Community Solar Act? And it explicitly states it shall not apply to a native community solar project, but it doesn't preclude the development of these projects. These tribal and Pueblo community projects are generally exempt from the Community Solar Act, but wherever the project's going to be, it's inevitable that tribal governments will have to interconnect. So they have to work with an investor-owned utility or a rural electric co-op, and you're still going to have to work with subscribing organizations and issue bill credits. So our hope is that this rulemaking can maybe serve as a model for whatever program you choose to establish. So some of the primary issues that we're going to be, working on in this rulemaking is consumer protection, the rate making issues, market oversight, community outreach and involvement, and information collection, as this is it's a 3-year program with a 200 megawatt cap and a limitation on a per project basis of 5 megawatts. And so we want to make sure that we come up with the right metrics to be able to demonstrate to the legislature that this legislation is working, and hopefully it'll inform any improvements or tweaks to the actual legislation. And here are just the primary milestones. I think I mentioned we're almost at the conclusion of the pre-rulemaking process. We've had a lot of robust involvement by many stakeholders that are concerned with community solar, but on October 20th and 27th, and our commission may need 1 or 2 meetings to kind of consider this, but we want to issue the notice of proposed rulemaking in late October. We're going to have a formal public hearing and a comment period with an opportunity for replies to those comments. And then in the spring, we're going to be drafting a final rule. And we hope to get it approved by the full commission at the end of March. And so we don't have a lot of time. We used a lot of time in the pre-rulemaking process. And I felt it was time well spent. But I can tell you right now, we have a razor thin timeline to get this final rule done. So it's critical that all of you weigh into this, even though you're not primarily subject to it. But I think there's elements that could serve as a model for tribal development of these solar projects. And I want to just also state in conclusion that Mayeni was just quite a staunch advocate for tribal interests, not just in the act, but as we initiated the whole stakeholder process to get feedback to inform the rule. So I just want to let everybody know that we're going to have to make some decisions that we didn't achieve consensus on during the work groups. And we hope that you would weigh in on this and help bring about consensus. So again, I want to reiterate, we have one more workshop before we begin the formal rulemaking process. It's going to be October 19th at 10 a.m. And I'm going to be here throughout the rest of the forum. As I mentioned at the outset, we're doing a lot of other things besides community solar, and I'm here to help you. If you have any complaints with utilities, we have a consumer relations division too that's very proactive, and I guarantee you the utilities, it's in their best interest to resolve these complaints at the lowest level before they escalate. So again, I just want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank the conveners, the sponsors, and all of you here that have a stake in the success of our transition to a clean energy economy. Thank you so much.